Now they've gone and done it. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 games that ruined their franchises.
Wait, what's he doing?
Not to be confused with our top 10 worst sequels list, we're talking about the games that were so bad they pretty much destroyed any chance of a follow-up. I know what some of you are thinking. Sonic 2006? No. As bad as that game was, the franchise is still going.
You bring it on yourselves.
The same goes for the likes of Mass Effect 3 and Diablo 3. We're talking about games where the entire final entry was a disaster. Number 10, BanjoKazooie Nuts and Bolts. After fans of the classic series waited 8 years for a proper sequel to the N64 platformers, not counting the GBA spin-offs, Microsoft looked like they'd finally given Rare a chance to spread their wings. But much to the shock of fans, what they got wasn't a next-gen 3D platformer, but instead a vehicle building and driving adventure. Even more heartbreaking was that this was Rare's last game before Microsoft locked them into making Kinect games. Talk about a fall from grace. Number 9, SOCOM 4, US Navy SEALs. This is another game that ruined itself by abandoning what made it fantastic to begin with. With the popularity of Call of Duty, Sony felt the best way to evolve SOCOM would be to de-evolve it.
Here's his pen. Make sure you stab him with it.
In other words, take its smart tactical approach and throw it out the window in favor of guns blazing action with pathetically easy enemies.
That's a cue.
It also didn't help that this game was released when the PlayStation Network was compromised, resulting in lackluster sales.
Let's see. The Temple of Doom should be right over there.
Number 8, Guitar Hero games in 2009. Activision knew they had a solid hit with Guitar Hero in 2006, with a sequel coming out almost immediately after. But then things got out of hand. Though the games were good, there were just too many of them. In 2009 alone, if you include spin-offs, there were 7 games released in the series, and Activision quickly learned that gamers weren't made out of money, especially in the recession era.
The experience of Guitar Hero captures more so the embodiment of bands and the spirit of bands and the spirit of fun of being in a band.
Number 7, Earthworm Jim 3D. Many games that went from 2D to 3D didn't transition very well. Boarding! During the SNES and Genesis era, Earthworm Jim was one of the most iconic video game mascots of all time, with his first and second games being huge successes.
Hey, googly woogly!
Unfortunately, his third game on the N64 was just dreadful, with a terrible camera and controls that made the game wholly unpleasant to play. Number 6, Command & Conquer 4, Tiberium Twilight. How do you conclude a 15-year-long saga for a series known for base building and managing large armies? Well, take away those two features and make something different?
Commander, if you'd be so kind as to deal with this rabble.
EA, in their infinite wisdom, for some reason decided that the game shouldn't be a traditional real-time strategy, instead focusing on preset squads for faster gameplay.
He'll do it again.
Worse still, the campaign ended on an anticlimactic whimper.
Kane's gone? Yeah, right.
Oh, Westwood, we miss you. Number 5, Medal of Honor, Warfighter. After the 2010 reboot came off as being okay, Warfighter hoped to get in on the modern military FPS craze. Making use of the Frostbite engine to show off realistic graphics only went as far as sugarcoating a generic first-person shooter. The fact that it was obviously rushed out the door to compete with Call of Duty resulted in bugs galore, and the game was panned by critics. It sold poorly, resulting in EA announcing that they would put the series on hold.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Always sorry.
I don't want to fight.
Number 4, Tony Hawk, Ride, and Shred. Activision makes this list once again for ruining another stellar franchise. Tony Hawk Ride was shipped with a skateboard motion control peripheral, which, to put it bluntly, didn't work. But Activision clearly didn't learn its lesson the first time around, releasing Shred a year later. But gamers weren't fooled, as that game only managed to sell an abysmal 3,000 units in its first week.
Now that you know how to stand on the board and push, it's time to start the fun.
Number 3. Bugsy 3D. Yet another disastrous transition from 2D to 3D. While the original games were average at best, this one is not only bad, but also one of the worst games of the 90s.
Wow, you wanna be a video game star?
With incredibly simple level design that wouldn't pass for a high school project, stiff controls, and terrible jumping sections, it doesn't quite take the top spot since the series wasn't all that good to begin with. Number 2. Tomb Raider, The Angel of Darkness. How do you take one of the biggest names in the video game industry and drag it through the mud?
Hey vous, plus un geste!
First, you base your box art on the terrible movie tie-in, then take out any tomb raiding, and finally release the game with many bugs and have Lara getting stronger by opening doors?
I feel stronger now.
I'm pretty sure fitness doesn't work like that. This was Core Design's last Tomb Raider game and the last in the original series. That's when you hit the reboot button, and this franchise has had to do that twice.
I have just come from Werner's apartment.
And how is Werner?
I'm afraid Werner is dead.
Dead?
Can I get you anything?
Before we get to the bottom of the barrel, let's have a look at some dishonorable mentions. Number 1. Steel Battalion, Heavy Armor. To top off our list, we have the mech series that originally shipped with a controller the size of a coffee table. So, believe it or not, Capcom thought the Kinect and the 360 controller together could compensate for that behemoth. The result was an unresponsive mess that made the game completely unplayable.
God damn. That sucked, huh, Sarge?
Believe it or not, this game was made from Software, the team behind Dark Souls. Maybe they're just spiteful and have been designing games to punish their unsatisfied fans ever since.
What? You had enough napping?
Do you agree with our list? Which abomination destroyed your favorite franchise?
Statewide grand!
For more epic top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.